Okay, let's be real for a second. Have you ever felt that weird, microscopic spike of anxiety right after you post something? That half second where you're staring at the screen, waiting for the first like to pop up like a hit of digital oxygen? It's okay, we've all been there. It's that tiny itchy feeling that says your experience didn't actually happen unless it's validated by a red dot. But here's the thing that's actually wild. If you need that notification to confirm you're having a good time, do you actually own that feeling, or are you just leasing it from an algorithm? I was looking into the etymology of the word emotion the other day, and it blew my mind. Back in the 17th century, emotion actually meant a public disturbance or a migration, literally people moving out of their homes in a frenzy. The irony is just too good. Today, we use emotion to describe these internal private feelings that keep us glued to a chair, staring at a piece of glass. We've turned our internal world into sentiment as a service, or SaaS. Just like you don't own your software anymore, you just pay a monthly fee to use it. We've started leasing our joy from platforms that can cut us off whenever they want. Think about it. We check our screen time stats or our joy scores on our wearables to see if we're actually happy. If the watch says my cortisol is low and my vibe is optimal, then I guess I'm having a great day, right? But what happens when the connection drops? We're left with this phantom loneliness the second the screen goes dark. It feels like a personal failure because we've outsourced the very act of feeling to a system that views our soul as raw data. We aren't just consumers anymore. Our inner lives have become the primary product, and the rent is getting more expensive every day. So I went back and reread Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, which, by the way, was basically the original private journal of a guy trying not to lose his mind while running the entire Roman Empire. He had this incredible concept called the inner citadel. He believed the mind was a fortress. He said, "Things do not touch the soul, but stand without it." Basically, the world can be on fire. Your enemies can be at the gates, but your inner peace is a locked vault that nobody can enter unless you open the gate yourself. But here's the problem. In 2026, our gates aren't just open, they've been hacked. Aurelius thought disturbance only comes from the opinion within. But today, our opinions are being manufactured in a server farm in Northern Virginia. Every haptic buzz in your pocket is a squatter in your inner citadel that hasn't paid rent. We've replaced our stone walls with transparent glass, and we've invited the entire world to comment on the furniture. When I first grasped this, I had to put the book down for an hour. It's uncomfortable to realize how much of our internal monologue is actually just a reaction to a notification. We've traded our fortress for a glass house with 24/7 surveillance. Aurelius would look at our smartphones and see them as literal siege engines, high-tech catapults designed to break the walls of our character. If your worth is tied to a sentiment rating or a notification, your citadel isn't just breached, it's been turned into a flagship store for someone else's brand. The question isn't how we build the walls higher, but how we reclaim the deed to the land inside and kick out the intruders. Now here is the part that genuinely changed how I think about my entire life. I started digging into Herbert Marcuse, a philosopher from the Frankfurt School who wrote this heavy hitter called One-Dimensional Man. He had this theory called repressive desublimation. Sounds academic, right? But here's the punchline. The system doesn't want you to be miserable. It actually wants you to be happy, but only in a way that costs money and keeps you productive. Marcuse realized that in a high-tech society, the people recognize themselves in their commodities. They find their soul in their car, their hi-fi set, or today, their main character aesthetic coffee run. We've reached the peak of emotional capitalism. If you were actually deeply content right now, if you just sat on a park bench and felt completely whole without buying a $7 latte, checking a feed, or upgrading your gear, the global economy would literally shrink by 30% in a week. Your peace is a system error. Contentment is a product failure. If you're satisfied with what you have and who you are, you stop optimizing, and optimizing is where the profit is. This is why we have vibe analyzers and AI assistants suggesting optimized text responses to keep our social harmony scores high. The system doesn't want you to be, it wants you to be becoming. Because being is free, but becoming requires a subscription. We're being fed a version of pleasure that is so accessible and so loud that we forget what actual freedom feels like. We're being bribed with comfort so we won't ask for agency. It's like being in a golden cage where the bars are made of personalized recommendations. You're not sad because there's something wrong with your brain chemistry. You're sad because the world is designed to treat your satisfaction as a bug to be patched in the next update. So how do we fight back? How do we commit an act of emotional arson against a system that wants to lease us our own joy? We have to become digital guerrillas. We need tactical, low dopamine rebellion that prioritizes the self over the stream. First, I want to challenge you to try something I call the unrecorded joy. It sounds simple, but in 2026, it's practically a revolutionary act. Go do something you love today. Eat a great meal, watch a sunset, have a hilarious conversation, and commit to taking 0 photos. Tell no one. Don't post it. Don't even mention it in a group chat to see if they're jealous. Reclaim that feeling for yourself. Keep the data. If the algorithm didn't see it, it belongs to you. It stays in your citadel. Second, implement the 60-minute low dopamine buffer. No feeds, no metrics, and definitely no notifications for the first hour of your day. Let your inner citadel set its own tone before the market enters your head. If the first thing you see is someone else's highlight reel, you've already lost the morning to the optimization race. You're starting your day in someone else's office. And finally, perform an emotional audit. Before you click buy or start a scroll session, ask yourself, is this my organic desire? Or am I trying to fill a manufactured void? It's about learning to recognize when your feelings are being prompted by an interface. When you realize that your dissatisfaction is being manufactured to keep you clicking, it loses its power over you. You start to see the wires behind the magic trick. You realize that the most radical thing you can do in a world that demands your attention is to give it to yourself for free, without a receipt or a share button. At the end of the day, your soul is not a subscription service. It is the only piece of private property you actually own, even if the world tries to convince you otherwise. Marcus Aurelius and Herbert Marcuse were separated by almost 2,000 years, but they both arrived at the same truth. The world will always try to tell you who to be and how to feel, because there is a lot of money to be made in your confusion. Reclaiming your feelings isn't about moving to a cabin in the woods or deleting every app and going off the grid, though that sounds tempting sometimes. It's about changing the ownership structure of your heart. It's moving from becoming to being. It's the refusal to participate in the race to optimize your own happiness for the benefit of a dashboard. So, tomorrow morning when you wake up, before you reach for that phone or check your recovery score, just sit there for a second. Breathe. Feel the weight of your own existence without an interface. Ask yourself, is my current mood my own, or is it just the algorithm's latest update? The answer might be uncomfortable, but it's also the most freeing thing you'll hear all year. You're not a data point. You're not a sentiment to be analyzed. You are the architect of the citadel. Go out there, do something beautiful, and for the love of everything, real. Don't tell anyone. Keep it for yourself.